What's up? Welcome to my third ever AEW review, and this is for the July 22nd, 2020 edition of Dynamite. The show opened up with the TNT Open Challenge title match. It was said that the challenger would be a top indie talent. We would then find out who that would be. But before that, I thought it would be Warhorse because he was mentioned on the Road 2 episode, I believe, last week from Arn Anderson. He said, what about that Warhorse kid? As the video faded to black, Cody was just looking on. He didn't say a word. But instead, that night, it turned out to be Eddie Kingston of NWA fame recently. This guy cut a mean promo. Excellent. It was great. I thought it was a good match, a great match to open up the show. It was started off hot, and hot is where you want to be. So it was Cody versus Eddie Kingston, and he cut an excellent promo on Cody. He said, some of the things he said were, Khan paid him to take out Cody, pretty much. Either you're an egg-sucking dog or an egg-sucking bitch. It was said on commentary that he is a veteran looking for that last grasp of fame and fortune, said JR. In the match, Eddie laid in many chops to Cody. Cody later pulls his belt off, then rolls out of the ring. Kingston then uses Cody's belt against him as they were on the outside. He lashed Cody many times with the belt, which was perfectly legal because it was a no DQ match, folks. Eventually, Cody came back. Kingston started favoring his left knee throughout the match. So Cody naturally started working on this knee. And this told a story that Eddie is withstanding his pain to get through this match. He wanted to win so bad that he would not, he just kept going. He couldn't move around much with his left knee in such bad shape. He later reaches under the ring for a sack. This is Eddie. And this sack contained a bunch of thumbtacks. He poured them out over the ring. Then, after a mini back and forth, Cody is then powerbombed on top of these thumbtacks. As they stuck inside of his back, and it was a nice sight. And I was surprised this happened to Cody because I was expecting it to happen to Eddie Kingston, to be honest with you. But the fact that he was able to powerbomb Cody on top of these thumbtacks, that caught me by surprise. So Cody demonstrated that he could do this kind of match if need be. He could take quite the serious bumps. He took a page out of Mox's playbook there. I bet somewhere Mox was smiling with glee. He was like, "Oh, that's my boy." Because Mox did the same thing in his match months ago with Kenny Omega. Cody later locks in the figure four, and Kingston taps out. All while he has the thumbtacks in his back, by the way. Cody retains the TNT title, and I thought it was a great match. And since the match has taken place, there has been a movement made with a Sign Eddie Kingston hashtag trending on social media, namely on Twitter. He could definitely add more depth to the roster if he is signed, but I worry that that the roster on the male side would be a bit too bloated, and you wouldn't be able to find much for Eddie to do if he was to become an AEW regular. But I have faith. If he does get signed, they'll find something for him to do. He could lead a faction. How about that as an idea? Next segment, we had a Mox promo, and he said he prides himself in keeping it real. Mox intended to snap Cage's arm, and he was disappointed that he didn't get that satisfying sound of bones breaking, pretty much. And Mox also ended it by saying next time he ain't gonna let go. So if Cage ever found himself in an arm lock by the hands of Mox, he's not letting go no matter what. So take that for what you will, Cage. Next match, we had MJF versus Griff Garrison. And who the F is Griff Garrison? If anyone gets that reference, I applaud you. MJF started cutting a promo on Griff. He called him Jungle Man because he bars a similar resemblance to Jungle Boy. It's like a taller version of Jungle Boy. And I could see that out the corner of my eye. If you weren't looking him in the face, you would think that was Jungle Boy from first glance. But after that, during the match, he goes, how does it feel to share the ring with someone undefeated? After that, he goes, you're going to say I'm undefeated, buddy. We then went to a picture-in-picture commercial break. Cody was working on Griff throughout the whole commercial break. Before that, MJF was really just egging this guy on the whole time. After the break, MJF forces Griff to tell the world that he's undefeated. He almost did, but he popped the mic back up in MJF's face. MJF then finished the match with the Heat Seeker for the 1, 2, 3, and he still remains undefeated. Next up, we had a Britt Baker update. Reba almost said her full name correctly before Britt called her into the next room, the nearby room. Tony Schiavone was there also. He was talking to Reba/Rebel. Britt called her back, and she went over her conspirators pretty much almost the same way she did the first time on stage with the use of a clipboard. She had Reba point out the stuff for her. She went over her 5 rules, and Britt says that she's set for the biggest comeback of all time. Don't count her out, particularly for All Out. So Britt Baker once again lets us know that she's going to be back. She plans to be back by All Out. So she'll finally get her match with Big Swole, I predict. Because if she comes back and she does not have that match with if she does not have that match with Big Swole, then what would that build have been for? It would have been for nothing. And I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to pay this off. And there are a bunch of people that are clamoring to see that match. That matchup, Big Swole versus Britt Baker. Also, Britt compared herself to Michael Jordan, to his comeback with the Wizards. Don't count her out. Next up, Brian Cage made his way out with Taz to the ring. Taz said they had a difficult week. Cage was close to firing Taz, but they've made amends since. He explained why he threw in the towel. He credits Mox, but he wasn't going to stand outside the ring and let his client get his bicep torn again. It was a business decision, he said. Taz promises Cage will not be in that predicament ever again. No surrender, no quit. Darby then made his way out to the ring, but before he could even set foot inside the ring, Ricky Starks came out of nowhere, blindsides Darby with a strike in the back of his head. He landed viciously against the ropes and fell out on the ramp. Cage then double powerbombed Darby into the ring. Starks then planted Darby with his move, a variation of the Dominator from Farouk. Moxley then came to the rescue with a barbed wire bat. He returned Darby's favor since Darby helped him out the previous week. After this, JR announced that there will be a women's tag team tournament. And this should be interesting. The Deadly Draw is what it's going to be portrayed as, or that's what it's called. it has since come to be known that there won't be any tag team titles in AEW anytime soon on the women's side. This isn't for tag team titles. This is for a trophy, pretty much. This was revealed by Excalibur during the post show on YouTube. I think this is good because it gives AEW a chance to scout more ladies because they are pretty slim in that department. This might actually take the place of Sheeta's open challenge that she gave out about a week or so ago. And this is another way for them to have more talent come in and they can see if they can find any diamonds out there. And it seems they might have found one a bit later because two of them, they were in a match, but we're going to get to that in a bit. But I like the idea. It gives AEW a chance to find more women talent that they desperately need. Most people aren't seeing it that way. They think that it's just going to be another tag team thing. Yeah, but it's another way for AEW to get more talent in. They obviously have to get more before they can even think about having a tag team tournament in that division. Next up, we had a backstage segment with Jericho, and he went on about how his $5,000 jacket was ruined with the orange juice last week. They complained about the smell, etc. Jericho went in on Cassidy and the Jurassic Express due to this because particularly Marco Stunt of the Jurassic Express had something to say about that Jericho incident last week. And tonight, he said they're going to make him extinct. We'll see what happens in a bit with that. The next matchup was the Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade. The Bucks looked for the Butcher and the Blade, and guess where they found them? They found them in the kitchen, cutting up meat. Perfect. I love that visual. The Bucks politely, they let the Butcher and the Blade wash their hands before they got ready for the match. Next up, in the match, Nick then gets powerbombed onto a steel table. The table that the Bucks were, I guess, where they were dealing with the meat, etc. The Bucks laid Butcher out via table when Nick jumps on top of him with a metal sheet. That happened not too long after Nick was powerbombed onto a steel table. The Blade is then knocked out on the escalator, and then we cut the break. When we came back, Blade went for a flip. This was they made their way towards the ring during the break, and this was near the ring. Blade went for a flip, then missed and landed awkwardly on the edge of a table. I believe his arm clipped it a bit, and he was not successful in that tope or whatever he was going for right there. The Bucks then did a number on the Butcher for a bit. They double teamed the Butcher since Blade was a bit knocked out from that missed table. But Blade then came back in the ring a bit later and beat down the Bucks some more. Then both the Butcher and the Blade grabbed some tables from underneath the ring. The Bucks then hit the BTE trigger on Blade. He was then placed on the table. Then the Bucks super kicked the Butcher again. This has been when they battled all the way up to the entrance ramp. Both the Butcher and the Blade were laid out on tables. The Bucks climbed a stage. Each climbed a tunnel. They climbed both the face and the heel tunnels. And they both hit, I believe, sentons on Butcher and the Blade at the same time. And they both went for a 3 count. And the Bucks won the match. And I believe it was a great match. And neither team looked bad. Both looked strong. Even the Butcher and the Blade in defeat. And I said it once, and I'll say it again. AEW has a knack for making people look strong in their losses. It's all down to the booking. Good stuff. Great Falls Count Anywhere match. Next up, Alex Marvez was looking for Lance Archer for a word, and he ran into Lance and Jake, the Snake Roberts. before Alice could even get a word in, Lance grabbed him and showed him what he was capable of. Lance then beats down several guys in the locker room. He actually clipped one of them. He raised one of them through the rooftop or the ceiling. He crashed his head through the ceiling and then stuffed him in the trash when he was done and casually walked out the room. Good stuff. They're trying to keep Lance Archer on our minds. He's still there. I don't know where he's going to go from here, but I hope it's somewhere good. As he hasn't done too much. He last had a match with Joey Janela, but I guess that feud didn't last too long. Next up, we have Diamante versus Ivelisse. And this is one of the matches I was looking forward to the most. Mainly because I was excited that for the potential that Ivelisse and Diamante have been signed, or were going to get signed by AEW. But Ivelisse started off aggressive with her strikes to Diamante. A chop fest later ensued outside the ring. And I noticed that there was a lot of intensity in this match. And that's what I like to see out the women. If we get more women's matches like this, show me some intensity. Put some oomph behind your strikes, etc. They wouldn't get so much of a bad rap if they were intense in everything they did in this division. These two obviously knew each other well. They fought each other on the indie circuit, etc. They last had a match at Ladies Night Out. I saw that on YouTube before I actually watched this match live. And I thought the match that they had there was better than this one. They didn't get to do too much in this match. It was fine, but I know both can do better than what they were showed here. But Diamante won with an inside cradle. I was surprised at this. I figured since Diamante won the night before on Dark that she was going to lose this match versus Ivelisse. But apparently not. Diamante's on a roll now. She's 2-4 now. And Ivelisse is like 0-2, I believe. Something like that. Ivelisse was last seen at All Out last year in the Casino Battle Royale match for the women. I hope they bring her back. I hope it is an indication that if she lost, that she's not signed. I hope they bring her back for another match. Give her another look, because I think she's good. And the division could use her. But Diamante stole one. She got the win. It was a decent match. Next up, we had Hangman versus the Dark Order's 5, a.k.a. Allen Angels. The match, it opens hot. Both show off their agility. Page then issues his boot to 5. And later, the Dark Order walks out to the ramp. All of the Dark Order, minus Brody Lee, were just standing at the top of the ramp, entrance ramp, just watching the match. This unnerved Page for a bit and allowed 5 to get some offense in. 5 later went for a moonsault but failed. Page then took over with the offense after that. Page eventually wins with a pop-up powerbomb, and the Dark Order looked a bit peeved with this loss. Page then beckoned the Dark Order to the ring. Brody Lee then made an appearance. He came out with Colt Cabana in tow, a prospect for the Dark Order. Colt Cabana is not sure that he's joined yet, but they're still building up that storyline as well. Lee then tried to recruit Page in the ring. Page says he's not ready to join a cult right now. And let's not forget that Brody Lee says the Dark Order is not a cult. They are not a cult. And Page just called him a cult right here. So I knew that this might anger Brody Lee because he said they are not a cult. Lee said that Adam Page made his bed and hope he enjoys his sleep in it. And I also noticed that Evil Uno, he's in great shape. He looks much better than he did at this point last year. He's put the work in. He lost a lot of weight, and he was slimming down way before the pandemic started. This just only helped. and he looks great. The Dark Order then pounced on Page. They beat him down a bit. And guess who made the save? No, it was not Kenny Omega immediately. It was FTR, followed by Kenny Omega. He was a bit late to the party. Page gladly accepted his beer from the FTR that they offered him a beer. And what I noticed from this is Page was ignoring Kenny the whole time. He was paying more attention to the FTR than he did Kenny. And I sense even more dissension there. These two are going to be broken up sooner or later. Something's going to tick Kenny off, and that's what's going to set this off. I'm looking forward to it. This has been brewing for months now. And I believe Kenny should be the one to change, not Hangman, because he's too likable. He's too over now. I don't think they want to undo what they got right now, because at first Hangman was not getting the reactions that he did prior. His early run in AEW, he was not on everyone's mind as a top guy, but now he is. And if they turned him heel, then that would undo everything. So, plus he's just too good right now to be a heel. So it's gonna be Kenny. He needs to turn more than Page. So that's what I think happens. Looking forward to see what happens next week between those two. And we make it to the main event, which was the Jurassic Express versus Jake Hager and Chris Jericho. Jericho did not like being laughed at. Jericho went after Jungle Boy first. Jungle Boy gets a streak going, then he backs down. Actually, excuse me. It was Jericho. He started to show more than Jericho gave him credit for. So he backed away and tagged in Jake Hager. And in turn, Jungle Boy tagged in Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus and Hager then squared off for a bit. Two big men going at it. Always a nice sight in the ring. Hager finally got an ankle lock on Luchasaurus, but Jericho gets tagged in and gets to work on Luchasaurus' left leg. And this was worked on throughout most of this match. Both worked Lucha's leg for quite a bit, Jericho and Hager. Then Jungle Boy gets the hot tag later on, and Tope, Santana, and Ortiz, and gets a tornado DDT on Jericho as he gets back into the ring. Then we went to break. We came back, and Jericho and company worked on Jungle Boy throughout the break. Jericho later grabbed his bat and got in RB's face, and she managed to get the bat out of Jericho's hands, because if he used it, he would have been disqualified, of course. But why would he want that? Actually, he would probably want that because he wouldn't have to deal with the Jurassic Express anymore because they were starting to gain a little bit more momentum in the match. After RB got the bat away from Jericho. Also, by the way, Jericho has stated in various interviews that he likes working with Aubrey Edwards, the referee for this match. He personally handpicks her because they mesh well. He thinks they work well together, and he can generate a lot of heat from the lovable Aubrey Edwards. So those two work nice together. There's a reason why she referees most of his matches. Jungle Boy still has not gotten the tag to Luchasaurus at this point, and I said he had to be tired. But Jungle Boy later gets a double team DDT on Hager and Jericho, and he finally gets that hot tag to Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus gets on his roundhouse. He gets in his roundhouse kicks to both Jericho and Hager. And then later, not long after this, Serpentico came from the crowd and leveled Luchasaurus in the back with the bat out of nowhere. This caught me by surprise. He then did a shooting star press to Luchasaurus, and he unmasked. I was like, wow, I was wondering why was Serpentico joining the inner circle? Then the Blockbuster. He unmasked and he revealed himself as Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara is back on Dynamite after being away for almost a month. due to the comments he made 4 years ago. Then at this point, Orange Cassidy had seen enough as he made his way to the ring with the best friends in tow, and they scared off the Inner Circle. I thought this was a great episode of Dynamite. Great episode. Excellent. It was action-packed the whole way through. It moved various stories along nicely, and it had exciting matchups. And I believe it was better than both nights of Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen. It was just that good. And it wasn't even billed as a pay-per-view like show. But it just had that feel. And I liked it. Perfect. Next week looks just as good as what we got tonight with this episode of Dynamite. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'd like to thank you for listening / watching this review. And once again, I thought the episode was great. I suggest you watch it if you haven't already. And I suggest you watch the other videos I've done. The Tuesday's Dark episode was reviewed, and I also reviewed Fight for the Fallen. That review is up on the channel as well, both of them. Thanks for watching, and I will be back with another review next week for Dark and Dynamite. Catch you then. The ratings are just in, and AEW Dynamite did 845,000 viewers with a .32 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, up 7% from last week with 788,000 viewers that they earned last week. NXT, on the other hand, brought in 615,000 viewers with a .17 in the 18 to 49 demographic. They got 631,000 last week. That is your ratings report for the show last night. Thanks for watching.